we're live. This ain't gonna be a long video. I'm basically making this video in response to a question that I think is a rather, and I'll be doing this with questions that I get or comments that I get on the channel regarding the project, because I want to make this about the project, not necessarily about me, right? So I got a comment from Suspect Down. I wonder if Suspect Down's got his own channel. And he does, so I'll give him a sub. Oh, wow, here we go. There we go. Okay, so we won't dive into the beach hook, but I do want to bring up Suspect Down. Want to bring up his comments here. I think he was talking about one of the characters that will be in the game, based on one of the people in the list of characters that'll be of the 44, the 4 hijackers, the 7 crew members, and the 33 passengers, which is just an ironic number. But he said Green was a pilot, and his father invented the stall warning for planes, which is interesting. I wonder if Green was one of the. Well, it's in the link. It takes you specifically to that header where it lists all the passengers and lists the crew members, I believe. I think he's talking about one of the crew members, the pilot specifically. He said the Suspect Down then later said the information hole is too deep. Attempting to put the real story together cannot happen because the real story and the official narrative do not add up or make sense. Take, for example, the delayed takeoff claim. I did a study on the BTS records, Bureau of Transportation and Statistics, for that day. The plane was not delayed according to that and took off on time. Very few delays that day. The delays were the day before due to a fire. The WOTG wheels off the ground time as recorded by ACARS also shows an on-time takeoff. There was a 26-minute taxi time before. Even if it was delayed, the records say different. Not sure what it is you would like to accomplish here and why, but every piece of info changes as you look deeper. My guess is you are working on concepts only. It has been years since I revisited my year's worth of study on this one event for the day. And my response was, this is exactly why I'm making the game. It's beautiful. The ultimate game is a recreation of real events and experiencing them for oneself. I'm going to draw up expansion plans beyond 9/11, JFK, Pizzagate, the BP oil spill. The possibilities are endless. What about the incident in Tiananmen Square in China? Mind blown, homie. A worldwide cultural revolution. And to be honest with you, I do believe that this particular production of media and its DLC creations built on the same framework as the 9/11 based project. It's going to be tremendous. My intent is to have multiple teams working on specific DLC related to their region of the world, their culture. And it doesn't just have to be the 9/11 related thing. There have been other hijackings of planes. There have been other mass shooting events that have been documented thoroughly in other parts of the world. And I should say maybe not documented as thoroughly as some of the things that would happen in a more technologically developed area of the world where there are just cameras everywhere, wherever there are cell phones. But, in some places we've had these kinds of events take place. We've had the grassroots investigation work done. So these kinds of viewpoints and understandings about other events in other parts of the world exist at the same time. So it isn't just an American thing. It isn't just a 9/11 thing. It is It is reality. So what I'm saying is if that video game developers, or I should say people, and I'm using Fiverr as a way to try and draw in people to join this project team. But if people from around the world can come together and decide that they want to put forward the truth and let you experience the truth, supported by whatever evidence that there is, and then therefore you can actually make a decision about what you think really happened. And I'm going to be honest, in most cases, it's not good for the establishment. It's not a good result for the mainstream reality culture matrix. It's just not a good thing because it's going to break down that structure. It's going to put a million cracks in it that will not be, you won't be able to glue that shit together. You will not be able to put an epoxy on it to hold it together. It's going to break down. It won't hold water for much longer. It's going to be incredible. It really is. And the decentralized nature of the team that I'm building is going to make it nearly impossible to stop. Nearly impossible. Not impossible, nearly impossible. I think that's the key point to take away from all this. I'm not building a system that relies entirely on my existence. I am the progenitor of the project. I am the guy who had the original idea and conceived of this this paradigm in video game development where you don't invent reality or a reality. You actually take reality and you transpose it into the game, and you make the game the subject of the reality. And you experience the game as a reflection of life. And it's not your life, it's another life. It's a character you get injected into and you have their experience, which is a real experience because this really happened. So the information hole being too deep, I don't think it's relevant as much because like a puzzle piece, where things fit, that's where they will go. And when things don't fit, that is going to be one of the branching pathways where another parallel narrative exists. And the player can experience that parallel narrative and make a decision. Well, what seems most likely? Is it this narrative or is it that narrative? Is it the official story or is it this story? Or is it this other alternative story? And it's and the whole concept, the whole principle that underpins the game's validity as an experience is the fact that items in the world that's being created will be items from the real world. So there will be documents, there will be video clips, there will be speeches by known figures, there will be readings of important texts that will be collectible items or will be part of loot boxes in the in-game economy. This is I have to reiterate this. This has never been done before. Never. This has never been done before. Ever in the history of video games. In edutainment software, this has never been done. And do you want to know why? Because corporations are in control of what you see. And so they're not going to let guys like my commenter get on the mainstream news and, bring up, hey, this is some kind of an anomaly. I don't know why you're reporting this, but it's actually this. He's never going to get heard. But in my world that I'm reconstructing, that is reality, his information can get heard. His information can be put into the place where it belongs in that reconstruction of what really happened. And I'm thinking at this point, with the way some of this stuff is like maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, maybe the official record is actually wrong because there's this account. I'm thinking that there can be permutations each time you play the game. If you've already played through a certain set of facts regarding the game, regarding the event, things that are purported but maybe aren't substantiated, or are substantiated but aren't really often talked about as a factor in the timing or the sequence of events that takes place. So there'll be, each time you play it as a single player experience, you'll be injected into a different character, and you'll have, when we get to like version 2, you'll have the cinematic introductory backstory being played off to you while your character makes its way to the plane for the fateful trip. It's going to be a dynamic experience. A dynamic experience that will allow people to see beyond the really narrow tunnel vision scope that the mainstream media puts you into when you are trying to learn about these events. I have never had such positive emotions over a project that I've tried to start, such as this, because the importance of this project it's going to impact billions of people. Microsoft talked about reaching 1 billion gamers. This project will reach 1 billion people. Without question. It'll go beyond gaming. It won't just be about video games. It's going to be about understanding reality. And then when people find out that there's a venue where they can experience what really happened and not have to deal with the filter of the mainstream media, the corporate-controlled media, but they can get something real and authentic, billions. 1 billion, easy. 1 billion impressions, at least 1 billion impressions of this project and what it's about. Across the world, easy. 1 billion. It'll just take word of mouth. It'll only take word of mouth. Once the word of mouth spreads, it'll start with the video game community, and then it'll bleed over into political realms. Then it will get mainstream media coverage, and it'll start out with local news items, and then it will slowly probably build up to, national news outlets covering the project, probably deriding it, insulting it, saying it's a travesty, saying we're trying to profit off of the deaths of Americans who valiantly, didn't do anything but just simply were sacrificed, at the altar of Satan. I mean, I don't know what they'll say. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to say, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this thing is marching forward and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And it makes me proud. It makes me proud. It makes me actually, this having the political wiggle room to still try and do something like this and not face real threat of persecution from the state, because they have no grounds to persecute me on, according to our established norms of legal enforcement. It makes me proud to be an American. This makes me proud to be an American because I can do this. I can expose the truth in a way that it's never been done before, and I can come out on top. I can come out on top. I can come out of this elevated in my position in the world, and have the impact that I've always wanted to have. Because this world's messed up, and it needs to change. It needs to change. So, Yeah, I guess that's about it. So that is my response to a comment about the information hole being too deep. It's kind of like a live service, to be quite honest with you. When new information comes forward, the developers will, have to, accumulate some of those changes and then release an update. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's not like we got to go and write stuff and figure out new content will create itself when the audience begins to interact and invest in the final product, which is always going to evolve until we exhaust all the possible, based on verifiable information, it's going to be kind of like a live service until we've exhausted all those options in terms of new information. So it's going to be a wild ride. But you know what? That's fine with me. I hope the information's deep. I hope that we get so much information that it takes us time to get it all into the different narratives in each of these parts of the larger game. Because remember, the Flight 93 demo is an isolated portion of vertical game slice of the experience that will be the rest of the game. 9/11, The Untold Truth. So, I hope that was entertaining, at least, informative, engaging, thought-provoking. But I don't think we should be scared of information being too deep and having it constantly change the way we view something. Because if we're not challenged on the way that we view things on a regular basis, we grow weak. We grow comfortable, and that's what leads to relationships being destroyed, because you lose respect for the subject itself because you think you know everything. And the same goes with relationships. You think you got it. You think you got it handled. You let your guard down. You get sloppy. You don't keep trying to improve. You just expect the other person to, do it all for you, or to do something for you to change something about you. And most of the time, it's people's feelings, and it has nothing to do with anything legitimate, tangible, or real. So, that's cool. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Please share all the links. That's really important. This is. It's essentially it's operating like an open source project where people can come and join at Nuclino, the Nuclino platform, and become part of the project and contribute in any way that they can. And you get name credit if you actually constructively add stuff in terms of content to the game itself. You produce content for the game, models, levels, modeling, game effects, like all the stuff that's listed. I got to update the list of the team because I got to add the website portion of it. I don't know what else to say here. Yeah, it doesn't matter how deep the rabbit hole goes, man. It's gonna make it if it can be verified, if the information can be sourced. And it's able to fit like a piece in a puzzle with the narratives, or create its own narrative in terms of that event, whatever event we're dealing with. Then it'll get its due. It'll get its time in the sun. As all things done in secret come out into the light eventually. It's just the way it is. All right. Well, this is Flight 93 demo. Thanks everybody for stopping in. I'm out. As all things done in secret come out into the light eventually. It's just the way it is. All right. Well, this is Flight 93 demo. Thanks everybody for stopping in. I'm out.